Sas Orgando.
Also,
Mike Lopez.
lovely person. What? There's a blog?
Mr. Marcos, we are going to play a game today.
Okay.
Very fun and very simple. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to mention certain things, names, situations, etc., and you're going to tell me the first thing comes to your mind.
Okay.
So we'll do this rapid fire, not pre-planned, completely organic. Yes?
Okay.
All right, let's do this.
Get into trouble this way.
Yeah, we might. I hope so. All right, let's start. Ninanais Aquino.
Failed presidency.
Rodrigo Duterte.
Leader.
Bruce Springsteen.
A true rocker in the real sense.
The late Stephen Hawking's greatest achievement.
Oh, well, I think it's relatively recognized that it was his description of the event horizon around the black hole, which is essentially the distance at which, within which, the diameter around the black hole within which nothing escapes, including light. So that really was a true revelation in our understanding of the universe.
Juan Ponce Enrique.
A deep thinker.
The institution of marriage.
Something that we are now redefining, I think, because of all this talk about divorce. But I think we need to go back to the original concept that it is a basis for forming a family.
Grace Poe.
I always said that when she first came as a senator, she was very impressive because she was always very well prepared and very insightful in what she's done. I think she's continued to do that.
Former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo.
Also, another very smart lady with a very good political instinct.
Jaime Marcos.
Jaime, Jaime is my ate, but beyond that, I think that people do not realize how good she is, how hard she works, and how perceptive and subtle she is in her thinking. She's really very good, and I learn many things from her all the time. Up to now, she's still my ate.
Dick Gordon.
Dick's a good friend of mine, and he unfortunately an Atenean, but never mind, I don't hold that against him. But again, he's very well experienced. He has served at very many levels of government, and that shows in the work that he does.
The tagline, #Ipasok si Dick.
Ipasok si Dick? Well, depends on how it's meant. But yeah, pasok natin si Dick.
Kiko Pangilinan.
Kiko, I'm a little perplexed by Kiko because he hasn't been consistent in his positioning and in his pronouncements, and he does not tend to keep his friends for very long.
Bongo.
I've known also Bongo since I met then Mayor Dicong Duterte. He's very much very close. He's not only the personal assistant of the president, but he also has become an important part of the policy-making process in government.
Risa Hontiveros.
Risa, well, we have never really agreed on many things in terms of policy, but she's, I suppose we could say that she's passionate and committed to her cause. What that cause is something that is sometimes a little hard to discern.
PNP Chief Bato.
Bato is a good policeman. He's a classic good policeman who's just there to do his duty. He, of course, came into the limelight when President Duterte became president. But since then, he has, I think, after all the commotion, he has since settled down into his groove, and he has done good work in other parts of the country, and he continues to do good work as PNP chief.
What about Lenny Robredo?
I don't know her.
Attorney Macalanta.
I know Jessie Robredo.
Yeah.
because I was committee on local government, and he was the department of he was the secretary of the department of local government, and we did a lot of work together, and we agreed on very many things.
I hear from a lot of people he was a good man.
Yeah, he because he was a mayor, so he understood the issues of local government very well from that perspective, which is the really the best way to understand what the local government issues are. So yeah, him I knew, but I've never actually had more than 2 words than maybe with his wife.
Yeah. Attorney Makalantao.
Si Romy Mac. Actually, I've known Romy Mac for a very long time, and yes, he's very much the media personality, and he revels in that, and he does it. He does a good job at it.
Alan Peter Cayetano.
Alan, he's obviously very ambitious. I don't know that I agree with his strategies of burning bridges, which is something that I've seen him do. But I suppose that he has decided that that's the best way for him to operate.
The war on drugs.
War on drugs is clearly necessary. And it is clearly necessary because once it began, not only were the Filipino public surprised about how pervasive and how deep and how wide the influence of the drug lords and the drug syndicates were in every aspect of society, in our economy, in our politics, everything. Not only were we surprised, but the president was surprised. He knew it was a problem, but didn't realize it was this big. And that is why they have had to expand it and expand it and expand it. And it is unfortunate that those who do not live in the Philippines do not understand how it has affected and destroyed millions of lives.
Favorite sneaker brand?
My favorite is that's a tough one. Huh? I don't know. What the best pair of sneakers I have are still Puma.
Puma. Okay. Favorite genre of music?
Oh, don't do this to me. That's tough. If I'm left alone, I'll listen to jazz.
Because you play the sax, don't you?
Well, there's that. Yeah, but any good music is nice to listen to. But if you're like in a setting, for example. Rock and roll is always welcome. I mean, rock is always welcome. Classical music, I love listening to classical music, and you can see, it's fascinating to see how some of the chords of Johann Sebastian Bach are coming out with Wynton Marsalis's music.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's some deep, the guy, Bach was just amazing. I used to be a Mozart fan.
Yeah.
But I sort of now shifting slowly to Bach when it comes to classical music. Jazz, who's Coltrane.
Okay.
Coltrane. Although Miles, do you know that Miles played with Coltrane when he was 16 years old?
What? No way.
I know.
That's a phenom of a talent.
Oh, it's crazy.
Favorite food?
Oh gosh, Pinoy, gotta be.
Cuisine.
Gotta be.
What exactly?
Oh, it's just the basic stuff. The basic stuff that everybody eats. I guess it's our usual adobo, sinigang, nilaga, and then of course there are the delicacies in Ilocos, the pinakbet, and dare I say it, the bagnet and dinengding. Those are foods that essentially I can't live without.
Right.
If I'm abroad and I'm not getting it regularly, that's how I learned how to cook.
I see.
Because I had to have it, and so I learned how to make it when I was in England, and since then it's never left my table.
Favorite film? I know you're a film buff. So
Yeah. 3?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Possibly the favorite film of all time is Apocalypse Now.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
That's something. And then something Scorsese. You know what what I also like that nobody talks about? Another Coppola film. I'm a big fan of Coppola. The Conversation.
I haven't seen it.
Gene Hackman. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Watch it. It's really, really good. And Scorsese, we'll go by director. Scorsese, like everything is done, like Raging Bull, Mean Streets. Man, come
I
on.
haven't seen a single Scorsese that I haven't.
Oh, you're crazy. Watch Raging Bull. Watch Mean Streets.
I don't think it's Raging Bull would be the best one, but like
No, start with Mean Streets.
yeah, Mean Streets.
Ah.
You seen Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I like-
so good too.
Well, you know, at that time I was there. I saw this stuff happening.
Yeah.
I was in New York. I was in the States at the time, and actually you could see these crazy trader types.
Oh man. Favorite scientific theory.
It has to be the general theory of relativity. I mean, that just changed everything. Just changed everything. Because it took, you know, we were in Newtonian physics for the longest time, and that was, I mean, there's another genius. And, you know, he invented calculus, Newton. And from that, he was able to calculate all of these physical phenomena. But the general theory of relativity took our understanding from what we experience on Earth to what explains the universe. And the idea of time-space, for example, is just changed everything.
What's the number of government officials that are jaded?
Phew. I would say, I would turn it around. How few are left that
Yeah.
are not?
Yeah, correct. But like, what's the
I would-
percentage? 99%?
Yeah, I would, unfortunately, you know, you become a bit cynical because you see things. Well, you know, you go along to get along and things like that, and nothing will happen. I won't get promoted, and they say go along, and so that promotes this kind of cynicism. That is the only way to succeed, and it becomes the actual culture of that government. So that's why I think that up to now it's just cannot be faked.
What do you think the best way to help the poor is?
Educate them.
Favorite international athlete?
Do race car drivers?
Yes, absolutely.
My ultimate, here's Ayrton Senna.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I watched him drive, and he was doing things that we could not explain.
Best Filipino vice president of all time?
The trouble with that, comparing vice presidents tend to be waiting, you know, at least before the 87 Constitution, they're very much waiting in the wings and not really, they do ceremonial things. So it's very hard to judge a person by that.
But we all know who the worst one is, so let me move on. Best president of all time?
Best?
Filipino president of all time?
Yeah, I may be biased, but a certain fellow from Batak by the name of Ferdinand Marcos.
What's the biggest pro of federalism?
It brings government closer to the people, and it allows local leaders to decide on local policy and local conditions. And I think that's the biggest advantage that it has.
Biggest con of federalism?
In my view, is how do we move from our system to federalism? It's going to be very difficult, and it'll cause a lot of. There are big changes, which will cause a lot of disengagement and until we adjust finally. I think we have to understand that it's not going to happen. The transition is not going to happen from today till tomorrow.
Right.
It's going to take a long time. It's going to take 3 years, maybe a little more.
Dream job if you were not in politics?
Easy. Astronaut.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's
easy.
Our vlogger here asking you this. If you were asked if you could go to the moon or Mars, you would say yes in a heartbeat.
Yeah, easy. I actually got from Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
When Richard Nixon came on a state visit to the Philippines, I was asked to attend the state dinner.
Yeah.
And during the state dinner, during the toast, he asked me to come up. Richard Nixon asked me to come up. And he gave me the first commercial ticket on the first flight to the moon.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah,
So crazy.
yeah, it's true.
What an amazing
Because I was
story.
nuts. I'm just completely nuts. That's why astronaut, you know, because when my father went to the States for 1968 for his state visit. I was asked by Congress Senator Inouye of Hawaii, when it was our first stop was Hawaii. And he says, what would you like to do? And I said, I want to go to NASA. So they flew me to Florida.
What?
When my dad was in Washington, they put me on a plane and flew me to Florida.
So nuts.
And I saw all of these things that I was just like, you cannot imagine. So so you go up in space. That's been my dream. SpaceX is those rockets are huge. They're approaching the size of the Saturn V-B, which took men to the moon. So he's considering it's a private thing.
Right.
It's a private concern. That's something.
Crazy. Hottest woman in the world right now.
Easy. Lisa.
Second hottest woman in the world right now. Because I knew you were going to say that.
There's only one woman.
Lessons to all the bachelors.
Yeah.
Okay, Manny Pacquiao.
My great champion, my idol, my hero. He really, I mean, his achievements are well known to everyone, and he won in 8 classes, and no one's ever done that. Even Muhammad Ali, and he always does it for the Philippines. He always says, I do this for my countrymen, I do this for my country. And I think that multiplies that achievement 100-fold.
Right.
And that's why he has brought glory to our country. He continues to acknowledge that it is this country that brought him up and made him the champion that he is. And for that we have to
Brandon Vera.
Brandon, I haven't seen him fight yet. We have to go and see him. But you know, he's one of those remarkable people that really can best be described as a gentle giant. Have you seen the guy? I mean, he's like this big, and he's the sweetest, the most kind, the most gentle person that you could ever hope to find. And I immediately, when I met him, when he came to that dinner in my house, the first time I met, it clicked immediately. This is not what you expect.
The DDS phenomenon.
The DDS phenomenon comes basically from the fact that we finally have, after a very long time, an actual leader. Someone who clearly cares deeply and strongly about the welfare of Filipinos and of the country. Despite the fact that he doesn't take the easy way out. Oh, let's look at the survey and see what's popular, and then that's what we'll do. No, he says, I wish it were popular, but even if it weren't, I really believe that this is the right thing to do. That's why I will do it. That's why people are respecting him. That's why people are supporting him.
Senator Franco.
One of the smartest people I've ever met. He's canny, he's clever, he's a very clever guy. We don't agree on many things, but you know, I respect him for his intellect and his skill at what he does.
The late great Miriam Defensor.
Oh my, what a person. She was something. I mean, I sort of wandered into her orbit only really when we were in the Senate together, and I was quite surprised to discover that we agreed on many things in policy. Not everything, not necessarily anything, but we agreed on many things in policy. But my first true exposure of Miriam was our first rally in 2010, the 2010 election, as the senatorial candidates of Manny Villar, who was running for president. And she goes up, and we were allowed, all of us were allowed, because there are 12 of us, and so we were all allowed 5 minutes to speak. This was the first speech of the campaign. So she gets, so 5 minutes, there's a guy, you know, with 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. So we get up there and do our thing. And Miriam, of course, because she's Miriam, she shows up and the schedule is changed. Miriam goes next. So Miriam goes. And she makes a hilarious speech like only Miriam could make. She was talking about backhoeing people because they were corrupting governments.
So what is a backhoe?
Remember, because the Ampatuan case had just happened, where they
Oh.
backhoed the,
Oh, yeah.
and I said, can you say that? It's too soon, right?
Too soon.
But she could, and people laughed. And only, like I said, only Miriam could pull that off. Anyway, there's the fellow with the 3 minutes, the 2 minutes, and so finally, time. So she comes down, clearly not finished with everything she wanted to say. She sits down next to me. I guess all of the material that she had prepared, that she wasn't able, she used on me. I was an hour and a half cracking up. I mean, she just made me laugh, and she made me laugh, and she made me laugh. And since then, our friendship was cemented.
Yeah. So there'll never be another person like her.
I don't think so. I don't think so. You could describe her as unique.
The divorce bill.
Divorce bill, that's another tough one. I'm a great believer in the institution of marriage. And I believe that in certain places, the reason the divorce rate is so high, because it's too easy to divorce. And I think that's the reason the divorce rate is so low in places like the Philippines, because it's not so easy to divorce, so you try harder to make the marriage work. Dingbag siya. Well, what a mess. I don't know. I don't know about whether or not it causes all of these medical problems, but the way that it was implemented clearly, again, had a political purpose to it. It was fundraising for the LP.
Gay marriage.
Oh, gay marriage. That used to be hard for me because I'm a Roman Catholic, and the church said one thing, and I wasn't quite completely in agreement. But our new Pope came along, and he gave us a direction, which I followed. Who am I to judge?
Mokausan.
Popular,
Thinking Pinoy.
smart,
Sas Progrande.
also
Mike Lopez.
lovely person. What? There's a blog?
Sandro Marcos.
Like any parent and child, there were some iffy moments. When he was a teenager, what was going to happen to this kid? He doesn't seem to be getting it. Well, he got it. He's fine. He's doing very well. He's He's working in London. After his master's degree, he said a remarkable thing. Actually, because we told him, where do you want to go? And we can ask. I'm sure we can ask some of our friends to take you on. And he went away and thought about it, and he came back and said, I think I'll work abroad for a while. I said, because I don't want to work in a place where my name means something.